Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 10 million views.
We are proud that we have more than 1,000 new subscribers in the last month, and that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
Over 500,000 of you have watched the show in the last 90 days. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, February 13th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we'll tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 10,000 LGBTQ television stories. We will produce the 25th anniversary of our Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th. We present Pride Feet in August and Pride Fort Lauderdale in February. Our magazine, events, and television shows and talk and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leader anchors will host this show to support the LGBTQ plus community. Let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options Magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Alex, Chic, and the Wilton Manors hosted Lesbian last Friday, February 28th. Tell me, what's happening, Alex?
Sure thing. As our resident expert on lesbians tonight, Miami's vibrant lesbian community will gather at the Well in Wilton Manors on Friday, February 28th, for the monthly Last Friday's event, hosted by Chic. Doors open at 10 p.m., featuring live performances, go-go dancers, vendors, tattoos, and live art. A sizzling burlesque show runs starting at midnight, followed by an after-party until 3 a.m. As the only South Florida bar consistently catering to lesbians, the Well offers an inclusive, energetic atmosphere. Tickets are $10 online and $15 at the door, with fresh female DJs every month. For more details, visit leschic.com. And I just have to say, I always enjoy the food at the Wells, too. So I don't think they're going to have food at this particular event, but ahead of the event, if you have time, try, I think it's their little mac and cheese balls and their corn. Oh my God, their corn's to die for if you haven't tried it.
Got to check it out. But you know, what I love about this is that there's a lesbian event. We're always talking about the guys. Absolutely. The fact that there's an event for the lesbians, I mean, it's amazing. We're always talking about where are the lesbians, but that's where they're going to be at, the Well, February 28th.
They're usually right next door at the other bar right across from their parking lot. That's where you see all the lesbians.
Yeah. Or Rosie's.
Neither. Oh. Lips? Yeah, no, not lips. No.
Lit.
Lit, yes. They're at Lit.
That's right.
That's where I thought they hung out. But what do I know? I'm not a lesbian. I also want to know what tattoos means. featuring
I'm
tattoos.
assuming you can get a tattoo, like
Probably like the Hannah tattoo. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I mean, like, it could be like a really hardcore lesbian event where, like, in the back of an actual tattoo artist, like, come on, let's do it, girls. And I'll be like, that makes me want to go even more.
That's
Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, show your feminine side.
Well, Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Lesbian last Friday on February 28th. Let's welcome anchor Glen Weinzimer. He has been a South Florida advocate for over 30 years, raising awareness and more than $16 million for HIV/AIDS community for 20 years. He is also a travel director, corporate events planner, and former owner of Bona Italian Restaurant. Glen, Fashion Meets Art Walk Wilton Manors Runway show on February 15th. Tell me, what's happening, brother?
I can tell you I'm not in it. That's for damn sure. And thanks for getting my name right. That was just, it rolled right off your tongue. Fashion and art converge at the inaugural Fashion Meets Art Walk Wilton Manors on Saturday, February 15th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at Hotspots Art. Celebrating Black History Month, this event showcases artistic clothing by Black and Brown designers in collaboration with Express Culture. Guests can enjoy an open bar with RSVP provided by Hotspots Happening Out, the nonprofit leading Art Walk Wilton Manors. Bartending services are curated by Toasted Tony, offering everything from drink menus to bar staffing. This monthly series aims to fuse creative expression through fashion and visual arts, offering attendees a vibrant cultural experience. Don't miss the free runway show highlighting Black excellence in design. For more details, visit awwm.org. I can never pass up a good fashion show. Yeah. I mean, watching what's her name? God, I'm having trouble today with everything.
Project Runway?
Not Project Runways. No, I'm not a fan of. I mean, yeah. But anyway, I got nothing because I can't think of the name of what I was just saying. Devil Wears Prada. Thank you, Anna Winters. Devil Wears Prada. Because once you saw a fashion show on there, like how can you compete?
Yeah.
So.
No, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just gonna say it seems like a wonderful event. I always like the different events on the drive. This one looks like another great one. They've been doing so many art things this month. It's going to be a great time.
And it's nice that they're expanding the art walk to include other things, which is great because that before it was sort of you saw the same people each month going from bar to bar to bar, or from gallery to gallery to gallery, and a bar in between.
Well, don't they serve drinks at the gallery? So you can call it a bar for this one.
I guess you could, but
you know what I like about this too is that given what we're hearing federal, the fact that the federal government has eliminated like certain holidays and celebrations of certain months, like Black History Month, like Women's History Month, the fact that this is celebrating Black History Month and Black excellence, and we need more of that. We need more celebratory.
It's taking everything local, which is what we need to do, because if you can't rely on the federal government anymore to support us, we need to rely on our own community to stand up and stand out.
That's right. That's what I love about this. Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the inaugural Fashion Meets Art Walk Wilton Manors on Saturday, February 15th. Let's welcome anchor Larry Farver. Larry has over 20 years of experience in human resources, acting, film, radio, TV, live events, parade float design, production, and casting, and more. He is also a board member of the West Side Association. Larry, Sistrunk Historical Festival presents the 45th Annual Parade and Festival on February 22nd. Tell me, what's happening, Larry?
Sure, Dr. Summers. The Sistrunk Historical Organization and the City of Fort Lauderdale will host their annual street festival. Throughout the Sistrunk Parade and Festival, patrons will have an opportunity to support vendors and sponsors. National and local artists will perform on the main stage, and local talent will perform on the community stage. The Sistrunk Historical Organization has been hosting over 40 years of unforgettable, multicultural, high-powered concert and community experiences and entertainment. So I'm excited. It's an extension, as we were talking about before, of Black History Month. Diversity, I think it's important for our LGBTQ plus community to support all around. It's another opportunity to kind of say, hey, we're going to continue doing what we do, no matter what part of the spectrum we fall on in communities. And we don't need necessarily to have the support. Now, I don't even want to say it aloud, but hopefully we never get pressure where these organizations start pulling, their clout for permits and things like that. I don't think it'll get that far because I think local jurisdictions will always have that.
But we are in the state of Florida.
And we can say, F you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went after drag queens and shut down major bars and hotels and stuff because they hosted a drag show. So I don't put anything past anybody.
We have to
But
think
this is a great event.
No, it's exciting, and they've been around since 1979. And one of the interesting facts is that in the last 12 years, they've had over 350,000 people. So that's substantial.
amazing.
That is.
That's amazing.
And I think it's important to celebrate our history. I come from the Northeast, and I think it's important that we also not only celebrate the culture and diversity, but our history in Florida. And Sistrunk is a very notably historical district. I think there are a lot of early Black roots in the settling of Fort Lauderdale, so it's important to maintain the vibrancy and, keep it alive.
I think it's critical to support while we still can.
Absolutely.
To Glenn's point, we don't know what can happen, and so let's celebrate it now.
Right.
Absolutely.
We need to show up.
Yeah.
So Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Sistrunk Historical Festival on February 22nd.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Dr. Edward Summers. While he might not be related to Donna, he is the amazing executive director of Pride Lines, one of America's most important community service providers to LGBTQ youth. Edward, the Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival is producing a Shorts, Run, They, Them, You, and I short film program on February 15th. Tell me what's happening, Edward.
Thanks, Alex. It's good to be here with you. The Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival short films, They, Them, You, and I, will bring an evening of compelling LGBTQ documentaries and short films on Saturday, February 15th from 5 to 8. Lots going on at the Savory Cinema. The event begins with 2 documentaries at 5 p.m. Artists at the Edge, Exploring Otherness in Provincetown's queer community, and the Barbette and Fontaine, connecting 2 drag icons across a century. I can't get that out. At 6 p.m. Short films will include a sneak peek of Our Family Pride, a locally produced series about a family navigating life after discovering their father is gay. Other films span genres and countries from the dystopian drama Safety State to the Iranian film Excess, tackling gender and inheritance laws. A free reception with the Our Family Pride cast and participating filmmakers will follow. Tickets start at $10. For more information, visit FLIFF.com. Great opportunity, lots of great films, lots of exploration of culture and gay identity. Be there.
As someone who actually grew up on Cape Cod and used to work for an art gallery in P-Town, I can't wait to try and go and see that one, to see about the arts in P-Town and just see the history of that. So it looks like a great show.
Oh, they always have great cinema at these events, and it's a nice opportunity to celebrate some of the smaller organizations that put on these films and stuff, and to get the notoriety they deserve. So it's always a fun event.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think it's very positive. One of the films mentioned has an Iranian background, and especially in these days worldwide with what we're looking at, it's so important to support our filmmakers internationally.
And showcase their culture. It's so much different than ours,
Absolutely. And we take a lot for granted right now. I know we feel like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders here in the United States with our current administration and what's going on. But imagine being in the Middle East or in Iran right now as a gay person. People are thrown off of buildings for being who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival's Shorts, They, Them, You, and I short film program on February 15th.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I am Dr. Edward Summers, and let's queer up drag culture. Troubling update on Drag Race star the Vivienne's death. RuPaul's Drag Race UK winner, the Vivienne, also known as James Lee Williams, was found dead in a bathroom on January 5th in Chester, England. Local police confirmed the death was due to unnatural causes, with no suspicious circumstances. However, a post-mortem examination from coroner Victoria Davies echoed the unnatural cause of death and announced an open inquest, extending the investigation through June 30th. British authorities provided no additional details on defining unnatural causes or why the investigation was extended another 5 months. Since the news of the Vivienne broke, drag artists from RuPaul's Drag Race and beyond expressed their grief on social media, mourning the beloved queen's sudden passing. Queer News Tonight will provide further updates as more details emerge. This is a sad story. I've definitely been monitoring social media, and so many people have expressed their sorrows and sympathy for the death of the Vivienne. It's a tough story, and I hope they figure out what happened here to the Vivienne. But I noticed over the past several months, there's been a string of deaths, whether celebrities or locally, for unnatural causes. And so I would love to know, just for public information and public education, what happened here. Because this could, her death, depending on what happened, could save other lives.
Right.
Exactly.
And the word unnatural is always surprising, because if it had been a U.S. story, it would have said that drugs and alcohol were believed. They had a history of. The British are just saying unnatural causes, and you wonder, okay, well, that's a big span. What does that mean? Could you narrow it down a little bit, that she was in a culture of something? You don't want to speculate to the negative, but at the same time, leaving everyone hanging, there's an autopsy that was already done. They usually know the next day what happened.
That's right.
So if there was substance abuse, or there was whatever that unnatural cause, someone electrocuted her in the bathroom with a blow dryer, you won't know that.
Well, you make the good point of a lot of unexpected. Sometimes people aren't dying necessarily for a drug overdose situation, but sometimes it's accidental mixing of drugs and alcohols in ways that you wouldn't think that, you have aged glass in your prescription, you don't realize it. And that's something that, I have no idea if this was in any way related to her, but it's something that we as a society should discuss more. And then you also have, for those of us in Wilton Manors, I've met too many people that I would become friends with, and then within a few months, they died of methamphetamine. Tina use or something, and there are all different reasons why these things happen, and we need to educate ourselves more.
And again, as Dr. Summers said, there's an opportunity there, and certainly if someone's unfortunate passing without judgment can be used to prevent others from passing in the future, why not? It continues their legacy. You can celebrate what they brought. My biggest heartbreak was when Whitney Houston died. And that whole situation, someone who was very talented. And
I think if you let the news out early, you reduce the amount of speculation.
That's right.
If you wait 6 months, the story just grows, and then no one believes, because of conspiracy theories, that's what she really died of, or he actually died of. So, releasing some information up front to take away that it was a drug related, or take away, there was a vengeful lover that killed him. You know what I mean? Unnatural could be anything.
And with RuPaul Drag Race fans, they're kind of crazy. I know they're all going to come for me now. Those rumors could go, who knows what
I don't know
they're going to come up to, right? Before we know it, they're going to say space aliens.
Right.
That's right.
The most important thing I'll say, though, is I really appreciate RuPaul clapping back at Tara on TikTok. No.
Yeah. And leave it up to the British to be so posh and so we're not devoting much. That's right, exactly.
Let me have my tea.
Let me have my tea.
We can discuss it later.
We can discuss it later. It's unnatural, And to Glen's point, if it was America, we would say exactly what it was, but the British is very protective.
Keeping up appearances.
Appearances is very in line with their culture. But the bigger picture too here is that I wish, they would release it hopefully before June 30th, because it could prevent so many other potential deaths, right? And we have seen, particularly in our LGBTQ community, lots of different deaths. And so I'll go to, someone who I really loved and adored. It was a bartender down at Palace who passed away at the gym, after leaving the gym is what was reported. And so these mysteries about how people die just leave it unsettled. I was unsettled after this. I'm still unsettled because we don't really know the cause, but who knows, right? The findings could save other people out there, and I think it's really important.
Especially in smaller communities. At least here, we see an abundance of this, unfortunately, of unnatural deaths, from overdoses or whatever it might be. And I just think that it needs to come to the forefront. They need to have a conversation so that we, like you're saying, and like Alex said, about preventing future deaths. It's just
there was, and I don't mean to
calling out for help.
Absolutely, I don't mean to drag this on, but there was a couple of months ago, there was somebody who was very popular in Wilton Manors who passed away, and Facebook went crazy because this person was very popular. He was had a studio on Wilton Drive. He worked with a lot of younger queer men, and somebody posted something about a potential reason why he died. And literally some gays said, well, this is good to know. It's important that we know that this is the reason why. Others attacked and said, well, you shouldn't be putting this information out there. And I'm on the side of, it's better to know. Listen, to your point, Larry, it is what it is, right? I did what I did. We know first of all, we know our community. Let's be real.
Absolutely.
People in our community party, have a good time, use various substances. But I think it's important to know so that we're safe.
Because it could be depression. I know somebody really well that, his partner committed suicide. And, you know, it was mental health issues, the way he was treated because he's LGBTQ, because he was rejected from his family.
Right.
You know, and like, so it doesn't always have to be nefarious.
Right.
Sometimes it could just be people need to reach out for mental health.
That's right.
And not to be, I'm not promoting any type of drug use on the show, but it also might prevent people who hung out with the person who's passed away getting bad drugs. Unfortunately, we know the fentanyl issues out there, the bad fentanyl.
Right.
Things like that, so that maybe it stops the cycle. We're not necessarily looking for people to be arrested, but that it stops the vicious cycle of maybe there's a distributor within that clique.
Or, you know, one of the things that we do, and I know SunServe does this as well, is that give out fentanyl strips where, you know, we know our communities. We know some people in our community, you know, like to dabble and like to do things. Like, be safe about it. Be smart about it, right? And so just to know.
Forgive my ignorance. What's a fentanyl strip?
So it basically, you could test out your drug to see if it has fentanyl.
Oh, if it's legit. Okay.
Right. So because as we know, everything now has fentanyl. Everything is mixed. There's no true pure substance
And going
anymore.
back, and some of you, I believe, were at the Hollywood Pride. One of the things that made the most impression on me in many years of attending Pride events around the country was that someone gave me a Narcan kit. And I keep it in my car because you never know when you're
never know.
I've seen people overdosing in Wilton Manors, and luckily they were still standing, and I called EMS. But if you're in a situation, it's there for assisting.
And bringing it back to Glen's point too, it could be that, or it could be something completely different, like a mental health. We don't know, but it's better for us to know. And it's not about getting in people's business, but it's about just educating the community so that, you know, we can look after Johnny over there who might have odd behavior, but it's really that he's depressed and he just needs somebody to reach out to him, right? So it's better to know. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's do what I do best. Let's queer up sports. Finally, something gay about the Super Bowl with one big queer party. Queer News Tonight did not report on the Super Bowl this week, as we couldn't find anything gay about the Super Bowl this year. That changed when we learned about the 2025 Big Gay Super Bowl party, which lit up the Hollywood Hills, blending football with fabulousness. Hosted by Brian Pendleton, the annual watch party drew LA's LGBTQ elite to raise funds for Out Athletic Fund, Pride House, and the UFLAC's Wildfire Firefighters Support Campaign. Though Super Bowl 59 wasn't the queerest event this year, there was a pre-show by Lady Gaga and a halftime show by Kendrick Lamar with SZA and Serena Williams, which added a touch of pride. Pendleton shared his gratitude on Instagram saying, quote, "Huge thanks for all the love and good vibes at the 2025 Big Gay Super Bowl party. I am grateful for this incredible community and the impact we're making together," end quote. The star-studded fundraiser proved that the queer community knows how to celebrate while giving back. We have been looking at all of the photos by artist Miguel Angel Reyes, which captured a vibrant night. The Super Bowl is over, and we leave the real sports stories to our colleagues at Outsports, who know more about this than us, and lets us ask the question, is football gay? I honestly have no clue. My significant other, Gil, love you, dear. He watched the Super Bowl, and apparently one team was losing so badly that, before the halftime show, he went to watch Shark Tank, though. But I did see the halftime show afterwards, and I thought Kendrick and Serena did a great job.
I'm still hooked on how could football not be gay? I mean, wide receiver.
Yeah,
tight end.
I think they should play shirtless, though. Then I'll watch more. Like, I watch the swimmers because they're shirtless.
Well, they're almost naked. That's why you watch them.
Exactly. Well, you know me, Glenn.
I just wanted to add, I went to a fabulous lesbian football Super Bowl party.
Well, that makes sense.
And they had all kinds of games and football pools, but they know how to roast ribs and really throw a party. Shout out to you, Margie and Edie in Wilton Manors.
Oh, that's great. I didn't watch, and I had no interest this year. You know, I normally don't have.
I don't have an interest ever.
You know, but kudos to the fundraiser and kudos to making it gay. And you know, I'm all about fundraising for things like the Pride House that in LA. I think entities like that, like the Pride House, is so critical for our community during these, particularly during these times. And so I'm glad that there were some gay fundraisers, and they had a big old gay party.
Right. I'm glad that Queer News Tonight only had to go all the way to LA to find a queer Super Bowl story.
That's right. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Glen Weinzimer, and let's queer up education. Indiana State University blocked LGBTQ Pride Festival and is immediately sued, because that's what we do in America. An LGBTQ group is suing Indiana State University for blocking its 2025 Pride Festival on campus. The Pride Center of Terre Haute, with the ACLU of Indiana, claims ISU violated the First Amendment by denying them access to the Quad, a campus space for free expression. ISU hosted the festival in 2023 and 2024, but this year secured a deal to hold it off campus at a city park without the group's consent. The Pride Center argues this undermines the event's purpose of showing ISU as welcoming to LGBTQ students and staff. The lawsuit claims the university is discouraging queer support on campus. ACLU legal director Ken Falk, however, claims that ISU's refusal to host Pride Fest is censorship. He insists the Pride Center has a constitutional right to hold the festival on the Quad. This case highlights ongoing battles for LGBTQ plus representation and rights on college campuses. This is a big deal, but not surprising with everything going on in our world right now, and funding, if they got, I don't know anything whether they're a private campus or not, but funding's being cut from organizations that are supporting DEI. And they supported it for just 2 years. I give them, where I would give them some credit, is they at least found a spot. They didn't say you can't do it at all and we're not associated. They're saying we found a new spot for you. And I don't know if they're providing sponsorship and they're still supporting it, but just not on campus. Like that part of I didn't dig deep enough to find that information out. So, you know, I obviously, like the rest of us, don't want to see this go off campus, but I'm just curious if there's more detail to they took the time and effort to find a spot.
Indiana State is a public college, and you know, I'm glad that when this happened, the response was, "We're going to sue you, win or lose." I'm glad that people are at least fighting back. This isn't the first campus issue. This year, one college decided, you know, they were afraid of how the government would treat them, so they canceled Chinese New Year.
And we did it for Pride down here. Remember, we were afraid of having drag queens, and so the city banned it from Pride.
Yeah,
just out of fear.
But the thing that I think of looking at this, of like what got us here, you know, a lot of people didn't like all the students doing anti-war protests on their campus last year. And I was like, do they not have a constitutional right? And if they don't have a constitutional right, do we have constitutional rights for these things? It's like, you know, if students can't like make a scene on their campus, like where are they going to do it? And quite frankly, I'd prefer they do it on their campus and leave me out of it half the time, you know?
Yeah, and they need a safe space to express themselves on campus. When you think about, you know, our own experiences that we had over the years going back and the students today, I also, you know, we need to support the ACLU and other organizations that are fighting this wave because, you know, it's dumbing down our culture. To be blunt, you know, where are we going to end up if we just throw our shoulders up?
Right. The upside is we've made so many gains over the last decade or 2 decades that we're actually talking about LGBTQ on campus. Because 30 years, 40 years ago when I went to college, there was no conversation about LGBTQ anything, let alone a pride. So, you know, we talk about the pendulum swinging. We swing so far to the left in some ways that everything was accepted, but not by everybody. And did we shove it down someone's throat so hard that they're now pushing back? Were we at fault for going too quick, too fast? You know, but the fact that we're even having a conversation about LSU and Pride and the LGBTQ community is still a win because there's a conversation happening and there's an outrage. I also question, like, because again, did the university sit down after they told them they were moving them and have a conversation? Did they have a conversation with the university before they went to sue? Because that becomes a whole different thing. Like sometimes you can resolve issues even the Middle East, by having a conversation and knowing your neighbors. You know, was the immediate hammer to let's sue them because we have a right to have our voice, as opposed to saying, can we find a compromise while staying on campus?
You wonder if there's some type of mediator that would have been available between the campus.
Before you go to this point.
My money's on the administration didn't talk to the kids. You look at any time a college decides to make a decision, they don't talk to the group, the student groups. They don't talk. Some schools, they ignore their own faculty. Like Columbia University recently ignored their own faculty.
I'm going to jump in here because I was one of those academics, right? And I ran a couple of universities. So I think to Glen's point earlier is what we are seeing is a lot of colleges and universities, because of the national conversation, retreat from DEI. They're actually reorganizing departments, retitling positions. You know, over the last 15 years, we've seen an increase in the number of vice presidents for diversity, equity, and inclusion. A lot of those positions are being retitled at a lot of college and universities out of fear from the Trump administration. And I hate to say that name. You know, the Chronicle of Higher Education has actually been monitoring this pretty closely. Couple of hundred college and universities have gotten rid of DEI already. So there is this much larger fear of college and universities that they're at risk of losing federal funds if they don't respond appropriately. And so I think a lot of college and universities are fearful, right? And I do think that potentially, I'm going to push back on you, Alex. I think that the administration probably did go to the students and talk about the fact that, listen, we're in this really challenging environment right now. We have to move it off campus. And I do think, I'm pretty sure, you know, I know some colleagues at ISU, and I do think that they probably did definitely talk to the dean of students there is really good. And I think that they did go and say, listen, this is the position that we're in. We have to move it on. And I think what we're seeing here is a case of the students saying, no, if the fraternity can hold their little festival on the campus, why can't we? And I think that's the main issue, is that why can other groups and why can't we? We should be recognized just like any other group there is, and we should not be discriminated against based on, you know, we're LGBTQ+. And I think that's where the bone of contention is probably at in this particular case.
And the university gave him a wink and a nod and said, we can't do anything about it, but if you want to make a bigger deal out of it, we're not going to stop you from creating a lawsuit.
That's exactly, you know, in all full disclosure, that's exactly what I would have done, you know, being a chief of staff at any university. I would have said, listen, this is where we're at, but, you know, if you want to go there, you have a right to go there.
What's interesting, before you close it out, is that the sad part is that those who go to state schools usually have less resources. Those that are going to private schools like the University of Miami that doesn't get federal funding are more likely for the elite to allow people to express themselves, where at state schools, because of fear from funding, from a funding perspective, they're pulling those things.
Well, private schools do get a lot of federal money, actually, in research, and actually there's a whole issue where they're going to be cutting how that research money can be spent, which is going to lead to a lot of staff declines. On the other hand, I hear you. I just think that if we were to do a bet, I'd just be very comfortable with my bet. That's all I'm saying.
I'll be very comfortable knowing colleagues in higher ed that I'm comfortable with my bet. But to Glen's point, though, you are right, Alex, that private institutions do get some funding. However, the state institutions rely primarily, like 90%, on.
And I do know the University of Miami because my ex was pretty high up at the University of Miami. And when the first Trump administration had all of its, you know, anti-LGBT stuff that they were circulating, that the University of Miami they pushed back because there was nothing they could do. Or to the point of our governor, you know.
Even in this climate, if you're a private institution, you have a lot of leeway in comparison to what we're seeing, particularly in the state of Florida with our state institutions. Look at all of our state institutions. They had to follow the book ban. University of Miami did not have to follow.
That's exactly where I was going with that.
So the regulations are a little bit different. You know, nonetheless, though, private institutions have to recognize they do risk losing all this funding, and they are. I mean, there's been these cases of like NIH, right, which, as we know, is being gutted and not really funded. That does impact, you know, institutions. However, overwhelmingly, the public institutions have more at risk. And so that's why they're responding. And when a Chronicle actually just did their study, and they have a tracker that's tracking, you know, the institutions that are getting rid of DEI, overwhelmingly, it is the public institutions, the state institutions, because, again, they're so worried and concerned about, you know, their dollars, the public dollars that come to them. So that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up gay culture. Happy Valentine's Day, as love is in the air from these iconic gay kissing scenes in TV and movies. It's Valentine's Day, but often Valentine's Day does resonate for the LGBTQ community, mostly because Hollywood's journey with LGBTQ visibility has been a long, winding road. While queer storytelling still faces hurdles like conservative backlash and casting controversies, some iconic moments have brought authentic gay representation to our screens. Remember Jack and Ennis's heart-wrenching kiss in Brokeback Mountain? It broke barriers and hearts alike. Or David and Patrick's tender moment in Schitt's Creek, which felt like a warm hug. Let's not forget Simon and Bram's sweet Ferris wheel kiss in Love, Simon, giving young gay teens a moment they deserved. Recently, Nick and Charlie in Heartstopper melted hearts with their innocent romance. These scenes are more than just kisses. They are milestones in the queer storytelling, reminding us that love in all forms is worth celebrating. This Valentine's Day, let's cherish these unforgettable moments that continue to inspire and validate queer love on screen. That's something we can't forget. Love is love. And, those are all wonderful examples of timeless examples of gay love on screen.
Yeah.
Glenn, are there any
Is this going to
scenes
be funny?
that you remember that are unforgettable to you?
What are you trying to say?
I don't know. You were saying that one of those scenes had something more than just a kiss.
Oh, yeah. Well, but I'm not going to go there. I will say that I love Heartstoppers.
Yeah.
That is just a wonderful show. It's also British. So as we start to see what happens in our world, it's also nice to see that there are other European countries that are doing shows like this, so that it's not blocking it out. I think it's amazing in a show like that. There's two women that are also engaged. There's, I think, that someone who's bisexual or non-gender.
Non-binary.
Non-binary, not non-gender. That gives you, it's great to sit and watch that and to see that romance in their eyes, especially from young actors, playing those roles and being able to be out. I think that's great. But you're back to Brokeback Mountain. Is that the one you were referring to that I mentioned earlier?
That one of the other things had like a dirty scene in it.
Well, I said what I said earlier was that Brokeback Mountain, I took it to one level further in the tent.
Oh,
that's what I said. It was all in my head.
You're talking about kids when you're old enough. You should watch that movie.
Exactly. But my favorite probably is Schitt's Creek, because Patrick, when he sings to him, he's sitting in that chair, and that scene just like it made you well up. It's not that often that I get emotional on TV, but that was just absolutely beautiful. Also,
sorry, go
ahead. No.
What's your favorite scene from one of these movies?
I'm going to have to go back to the classic Brokeback Mountain. I think it was just, especially for actors that were being played by cis performers, or supposedly, I have to say that really was the most touching. I was lost in that movie, and I can watch it every couple of years and still feel those moments. I don't want to take away from any of the other stories there. I think it's all in how it's done. Recently, I was sitting there with my husband, Daniel, and we were watching 911, and all of a sudden, Buck, this character, Buck, who's an EMS, is making out. And I'm like, whoa, we missed a few episodes. When did it launch? But it was great at the same time. Yeah. And that was a show, I think, originally that was on Fox, and now it's on ABC. So it's a progression.
How about you, Alex?
I don't have one, but I have a prediction for a future one. So the young man from Heartstopper is also in that Disney Agatha. He plays Wiccan, and Wiccan has a boyfriend. So I'm hoping that a future Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about a Wiccan and his boyfriend makeout scene. Disney, come on, Disney! I want to see some gays kissing. You had lesbian space witches. Let's have some gays kissing.
I thought you were going to talk about your private collection of videos.
Ooh.
Oh, you just go online and see that on any website.
So I have to say, you know what? I love Simon.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the Ferris wheel kiss. And I loved it, too, because of the diversity, right? You had a young man of color and a white young man. And it just reminds me of how beautiful our community is and how such a rainbow we are. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, me being person mixed or whatever, and coming from a mixed family. My partner is Latino, but he's white, presenting Latino. And it's just, I don't know, I just connect with it a lot. But what I also loved about Love, Simon is that it led into Love, Victor. and Love Victor was about a young boy who was Latin descent and who, was experiencing a variety of different like romantic feelings about another guy. And so to me, that was just like such a magical moment on that Ferris wheel. And it reminded me of, again, my first boyfriend that I kissed. It wasn't on the Ferris wheel, but it was just such a magical moment. I do have to say, I do love Brokeback Mountain, and I do remember those scenes, Glenn.
Yeah.
I won't say what I was doing during those scenes, but,
You know what? If you had the poster, you could keep doing it.
Yeah.
And no one had to hear it.
Yeah. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I am Dr. Edward Summers, and let's queer up politics. Out Robert Garcia takes page from Marjorie Taylor Greene and shows Elon Musk's dick pic in House DOGE hearing. Gay California Representative Robert Garcia brought levity and sharp critique to a House hearing on GOP-led budget cuts. Taking a page right out of Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene's playbook, Garcia held up a pic of Elon Musk. He quipped it was his version of a dick pic. This remark was a callback to a 2023 hearing where Republican Georgia U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene displayed explicit images of Hunter Biden. Garcia condemned Musk's Department of Government Efficiency for cutting education, Medicare, and Medicaid funding. He warned that Musk's influence was a power grab, benefiting billionaires at the expense of Americans. Garcia also highlighted the appointment of unqualified staff, including teenagers in Musk DOGE. As DOGE oversight of key agencies falters, Garcia pledged to protect social safety nets from billionaire-driven cuts. Well, kudos to Garcia, for standing up for everyday people. As we all know, lots of different individuals are being impacted by quote-unquote freezes and these cuts, and it's all driven by a billionaire who doesn't know what it's like to live a day in and day life of an American citizen here. And I hate to go there with this guy, but unfortunately I have to, because he's so antithetical to American democracy. And everything that he's trying to do reminds me of what South Africa was under apartheid regime. And that's exactly what he's trying to do with his crony here, Donald Trump, which I hate saying both their names. So kudos to Garcia. I think it's great that he's standing up for everyday Americans, and he's speaking out. And, what he called them is what he called them. Right.
On the one hand, I agree that Elon Musk is a dick, but, seeing Congressman Garcia's antics, I think it goes perfectly what I saw. An old colleague of mine, Oliver Willis, who's now an editor at the Daily Kos, posted this morning. I've been a registered Democrat for 29 years. I voted in 8 presidential elections. I've never been more disgusted with the Democrats than right now. People forget that what is happening. I have friends who are being put on leave in the federal workforce, others who know people that are being fired. A friend of mine worked for a nonprofit that dealt with helping historically black colleges and universities. Their big donor was a corporation. They said, on advice of legal counsel, we can't meet with you. Then magically a giant layoff happened last week. I also have friends that are afraid to go out and about with me because of ICE. I see all that, and I see the Democrats' version of their attempts to fight back. It's like, we're going to call Elon a dick. I'm sick of that shit. The Republicans have a majority, but not a functional majority in the House. I want to see Garcia and the rest of the Democrats say, we're not going to vote for that budget that you cannot pass without at least 1 or 2 of us if you're going to keep this shit up. That's what I want to see the Democrats do.
Wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah.
And the thing with Elon Musk too is that a lot of his people that he's hired are hackers that were fired from other organizations because of their skill set, and he brought them in because they're geniuses at hacking things, and he's getting into our government in places he shouldn't be at, and that's really scary. I also heard, and again, I did not verify it, but supposedly he has an aunt, Musk does, or something in Europe that's still a major Nazi supporter and stuff. And, you go, okay, between the symbol of him standing out there and raising his arm in the sky and, some of the history that as you dig deeper into, and even the other one, the Orange Man's background in Germany and his parents changing their name when they came here. Kind of makes you all look at all of that and go, how did we turn a blind eye? How do we miss the clues? And yes, half of America didn't miss the clues. But, I've never been a conspiracy theorist, but I think the reason he was so upset at the last election is he had fixed it and lost in 2020. And he couldn't understand, which is why he was saying it was fixed, because he knew the outcome before it happened. And then America stood up so much that it was so close, but I don't think it was really that close. And I think this election, history will show whether any of it was legit or not. But, again, back to your point, the Democrats are doing nothing in a fire in their belly to get out there and get on the steps and rally Americans out into the streets.
Right.
They're just placating everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, Vance is overseas. They're still appointing people. It was Vance that was the final vote on one of the first nominees. Right now, he's out of the country. What happened to our Alaska representative? There are two, what's her name? The two females.
The Republican that are kind of wishy-washy.
Yes, yeah, Susan Collins. Right.
Collins.
Neither one of them voted today against the two people that were nominated for RFK.
And remember, every Democrat voted for Marco Rubio, who's, helping disable
Which is ridiculous.
USA.
Right.
Who thinks trans people shouldn't be given a pass.
I find it ridiculous.
Yeah. So it just angers us, all of us.
And I think back to when Obama was in office, and quite frankly, when the Republicans won, they denied every political appointee. They denied him any victory. That was their
Supreme
goal.
Court.
Right. Like Merrick Garland.
Right.
Merrick Garland should have been on the Supreme Court, but they denied him that. And they only had a slim majority like they have right now, and they denied him. And the fact that the Democrats don't want to use these same tactics, it's appalling. Yeah, right. It is stand up for fucking America.
Right.
Well, stand up for the people you represent.
They go low, we go high is like, just throw that out the window, because going high is not winning us elections.
It's not winning us.
Yeah.
And I think there's an opportunity, and I've heard some buzz about, using the filibuster as a tool for the Democrats to...
They don't even need to. They can just call a quorum now and then, because so few senators are ever in there in session. It gums up the works. The Democrats have all sorts of tactics that they could use.
Absolutely.
They don't want to use them. I've just been so appalled I've met Leader Jeffries, and he tends to be a good guy. I have no idea what's going on in his head right now. Schumer, I understand, is just I'm sorry, he's too old. Nancy Pelosi's too old. They still think it's 1994. It's 2025.
Right.
It's time to start getting with the times and getting more fight.
Yeah, I had some hope for Hakeem Jeffries, and I'm optimistic and I still have some hope. But to your point, I don't know what's going on. When I look at a person like Jasmine Crockett from Texas, she speaks her mind and she speaks up, and she recently has been talking on some podcast about what Democrats need to do, and just hearing her, it's just a breath of fresh air, and I wish we would listen a little bit more to her, because she makes sense and she's willing to stand, for what she believes in.
And activate people to do something, and that's what we need. We need people to activate people on the Democratic side. Where's Debbie Wasserman Schultz? She has a loud voice in our community, but I don't see her running any rallies right now. And if she is, it's not getting publicized that we know about it to go out and support these things that we are against.
I can't speak for her, but when I was at FDP, whenever I wanted to do a press event of some kind to bash Donald Trump, Debbie was always a sport.
Absolutely.
She would do it. She once literally did a voice call, a phone call with reporters in line at the airport for me.
And I'm a huge fan of hers, because she does, but I haven't seen her on the news speaking out. And that's what going back to Hakeem Jeffries, you want the people that you love and admire and that stand up for us to take this time to stand up.
Yeah.
And I've met Debbie several times. She gave me an award from Congress for the bike ride. I have nothing but admiration for her, but with everyone else who's on the Democratic side that has the ability to move mountains, they're not speaking up and screaming at this point. Yeah. Or the press is not giving them the time. So you don't know who to blame.
I'll start with Democratic leadership, then we can look at the press.
I'm down. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I am Dr. Edward Summers, and let's queer up travel. Visit Lauderdale is excited about pups and pints, brews and barks at Pompano Beach. Grab your leash and your pint glass. Visit Lauderdale is inviting you to Pups and Pints at Pompano Beach Brewing Company. This event promises a positivity, delightful time with frosty brews for humans and free dog treats or pup cups for your furry friends, courtesy of the Munchies Reports special dog menu. Organizers remind attendees to bring only well-behaved, socialized pups and to clean up after them. So raise a glass and a paw to an evening of tail wags and cold pints. Don't miss this chance to unwind with your fellow dog lovers and enjoy the vibrant LGBTQ friendly community of the Greater Fort Lauderdale. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Those are today's headlines for Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ and allied community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and in sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I am your anchor, Dr. Edward Summers, and on behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Alex, Glenn, and Larry, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, be transformative, and queer. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.